Welcome to the Casino Track, Casual Connect 2013 in Kyiv. We're on the games business. I think one of the things that is pretty clear is that casino games are evergreen games. They're very important. 5 years ago, it was hidden object games or match 3 or city builders. 200 years ago, people were playing casino games, and I think in 200 years' time, they will be playing casino games too. I wouldn't think with the same with Angry Birds. If you've got a time machine and went 200 years into the future, people would still be playing casino games. It's my pleasure to introduce Barak, who'll be talking about things related to casino games. But to try and get some audience in participation, I'm giving away little prizes, casino-related prizes. So this prize will go to the first person who could tell me the number of percentage chance of getting pocket aces when playing Texas Hold'em poker. Does anybody know what it is? If you want to guess out, I'll say higher or lower. A little bit lower than that. 1 in something, 1 in 200 and something. Anyone to guess? Less than 250. Too close. 1 in 220. Okay, Barak, it's all yours.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to be here. So, a little bit about myself. I grew up in Ohio. I studied at Harvard, and I served in the paratroops in the Israel Defense Forces. The reason I'm here today is because I started 3 successful social casino companies. And I'd like to share some of those learnings and experience with you. My current company is Win.com. It's backed by BWin Party, which is the largest online gambling company in the world. We are 35 people in Tel Aviv, Israel, and we are another 75, actually more, here in Ukraine, in Kyiv and Vinnytsia. We're called Win Interactive. We produce games across all categories of social casino. So, without further ado, let me welcome you to the world of social casino. This is an example of a social casino application. It's called the Stardust. It's an application that my company developed, and it represents a lot of what social casino is all about. Stunning graphics, in this case 2.5D, slots, roulette, blackjack, a lot of interaction, and a lot of gifts. We did this in partnership with a land-based casino in Las Vegas. They're called the Boyd Gaming Group. It's one of the largest land-based casino groups in the world. So how big is the social casino market? It's $2 billion currently, and it's being fueled by the developing world and especially mobile. You can see the breakdown here by region. This wasn't the case just 1 year ago, and it won't be the case 1 year from now. The market is growing really fast. But $2 billion is a large figure. It's sometimes hard to get your hands around it. So let me ask you, in the spirit of a games conference, a couple trivia questions. First question is, what percentage of Facebook game revenue do you think comes from social casino? And the second question is, how much do you think the largest company in the space makes from social casino every day? I'll give you a second to think about that. Let's find out. Social casino claims that 43% of all of their game revenue comes from social casino. That's a staggering amount, a staggering proportion, considering all the genres of games on Facebook. It's competing against casual games, it's competing against strategy games, but almost 1 out of every $2 spent in social casino and in games on Facebook comes from social casino. If we turn our attention to the largest company in the space, Caesars Interactive, they make over $700,000 every day from their social casino applications. That's just 3 brands of social casino games from which they're generating $700,000 every single day. So, next question is, another way to look at it is looking at the app stores. We've talked about Facebook. Now let's turn our attention to mobile, since that's what's leading the growth. And within mobile, let's look at tablets. Roughly, we see that iPhone has twice the monetization and twice the retention of Facebook. And tablets, or iPad, has almost double the monetization retention of iPhone. Just yesterday, I checked on App Annie, and here I pulled the rankings. Out of the top 13 games for top grossing category on App Annie, we can see that 7 of the top 13 are social casino applications listed here, and that's a pretty consistent trend. If anything, it's getting, social casino is taking up more of the rankings than in the past. So another question you can ask yourself is, how does social casino fit within the real money gambling world? The interesting answer to that question is that social casino, a $2 billion market, represents just a tiny fraction of an almost $400 billion industry. And that's a staggering figure. Think about it. It has 200x potential for market expansion. We're just at the tip, the very tip of the iceberg. 2 billion represents social casino, 40 billion represents all of online gambling. Thank you. The other interesting statistic is that most social casino players actually visit land-based casinos. Okay? So 83% of people who are playing Slotomania or Cheeky Bingo will themselves visit a land-based casino during the year. And that is what many of the land-based casinos are looking at when they make investments into this space. That is what motivated Caesars Interactive Entertainment to buy Playtika, an Israeli social game studio, for $200 million, or IGT to buy Double Down for $500 million. Now let's zoom out for a second and take a look at the marketplace for social casino. You can break it down into 5 subgenres. You have slots, you have casino, which is slots plus table games. You have bingo applications, and you then have poker and sportsbook applications. Slots is the most mature segment of the social casino market. It's the oldest and it's the most crowded. If we then move to casino, you have fewer players, but it's still fierce competition. Bingo, even fewer players, and they're actually doing quite well. And then we get into poker, and lastly, sports. Now, the interesting thing here, the thing that really glares out to me and calls for attention, is if we look at the sports category. And by sports here, I mean sports betting. It's totally absent. Zynga published one sports betting game about a year ago, and it hasn't taken off. So it's completely greenfield. On the other hand, you could look at it as a graveyard of false attempts, of false starts that never really got traction. We at Win, my company, have an ambition to be the first company in the space to compete in every genre, every subgenre, to offer an end-to-end solution. And we're doing that by partnering with great companies, one of which is Merca here in the Ukraine. Another is Nordeus, based in Belgrade, also in Eastern Europe. And we're going to be releasing a social sports betting application next month, the first of its kind. Now, for those of you interested in penetrating this market, where all these billions are being made, there's a very simple path to follow. You create an application, and you focus systematically first on retention. You try to get your retention above 20% for web apps, and then above 30, 40% for mobile apps. Once you've got retention down, you can be confident that you have a game that is popular, that people enjoy playing. You can then turn your attention to monetization. And monetization thresholds are also very explicit. 5 cent DARPU if you have a decent application. That's your starting point. From there, successful slots and casino apps can go as high as 10 cents, as high as 20 cents. In the case of Double Down Casino, they've just reported 40 cents. And then poker and sportsbook, although it appeals to a smaller total population size, they tend to monetize above 20 cents, certainly above 30 cents. Again, sportsbook there has been no clear leader yet, but it certainly has the potential given the demographics are so similar to poker. So this is the path to follow. We'll take questions afterwards. Thank you. This is the path to follow, and basically what it's pointing to is after you've gotten your retention and your monetization optimized, you can then start to scale up your marketing. This is really important in mobile, where it's very hard and difficult to do advertising right now. Many of us are reliant on Facebook, but Facebook has limited inventory. So once you get your DARPU and retention up, your lifetime value goes up to such a point that you can justify spending more to acquire traffic on mobile distribution channels. And by doing so, you can raise your bottom line, your total revenue. The interesting thing about social casino, besides the money, is how it pollinates other genres of games. In social casino, you probably have the most refined business model. People aren't going there to farm. They're not going there to collect. They're not going there to wage war. They're going there to bet and have the sensation of winning money. And many other genres of social games have taken notice of this. So here we see Bejeweled Blitz, one of the most popular casual games out there. They've implemented a slot machine as their daily bonus mechanism, clearly taking learning from the social casino industry. Now, we've talked about billions, we've talked about innovation. The thing I have to say is beware. It's not an easy path. Again, we've talked in sports how it's a graveyard of many false starts. If you go all the way to the largest company in the space, Zynga, they've had a very well-publicized, documented retreat from gambling. With all of their resources, they weren't able to create a viable business to date, so they retreated, they pulled back. So it's a very big opportunity, but it's one that you have to really proceed with caution. We at Win have done that in a number of ways. It's one example of a path to penetrate this industry. We've done it by investing in a development center here in Ukraine called Win Interactive, where we do most of our development. And we've done it by forming alliances with best-of-breed social game companies. I've mentioned Merca, our partner in bingo and in other areas, and Nordeus, our partner in sports. By forming alliances, you can basically be a David against the Goliath. You can combine the elements that it takes to make a competitive advantage. And those elements are a platform and a team that covers the spectrum of all of the needs, capabilities you need for success. A portfolio of game applications, because once you have one, you can cross-promote to the others and thereby reduce your acquisition cost for customers. You can have original IP that you develop together. All of that by forming strategic alliances that give you something that is very, very difficult to replicate or penetrate and creates a very formidable foe for even the largest companies in this space. If you can do that well, then you're in a position to really innovate. Here is an example from MyVegas, which is a social casino studio in the US that partnered with MGM, one of the largest land-based casino groups, created an application, and they've introduced tangible rewards into their game. So you can play the game, win loyalty points, and redeem those points for hotel stay, air travel, meals, all at their casino. That's something that we don't see in any other genre of social casino, and it's one example of the innovation that we have in the industry and that we promise for other genres. So the bottom line is there's a lot of money to be made in social casino. There are lots of opportunities. However, there are risks. So I suggest that you look for alliances and ways to really leverage what you're good at and fill the gaps of what you're missing to create formidable companies and take advantage of this opportunity. And on that note, I'd invite any of you with promising ideas to come and talk to me. I'll be here at the conference, and I'll be very happy to talk to you either about your ideas or about your social casino business. Be happy to take questions at this point. Should I hand my mic?
Yeah, you hand the mic.
Okay.
Just like regarding the rewards that you just mentioned, how do they do it? They have like certain technology ad network, or like why is?
So the question was, we saw an example of MyVegas, which has tangible rewards, and we asked ourselves, how do they do it? In the case of MyVegas, they actually have partnerships with each of the casinos in Vegas. Those casinos then make prizes available to the game and through the game to users as a marketing tool to get traffic to their land-based casinos. Now, technically, the reason we're able to distribute social casino games around the world without regard to gambling legislation is because it's not technically legally considered gambling. Why? Because there is no opportunity to win cash out of the games. You can pay cash to buy credits, but you can never take cash out of the games. The minute you start offering tangible rewards, you start to blur that line. So you have to do and introduce features like tangible rewards with caution and with a lot of legal guidance. The mechanism that MyVegas uses is sweepstakes rules. Sweepstakes rules are very long-standing in the United States, and they basically say anyone can give away tangible prizes as long as you make it no purchase necessary. So if you read the fine print, I cut it off here in the screenshot, it says, if you would like to have a chance to win tangible prizes, you can mail a postcard to this address. You don't have to purchase anything. And you will be, you'll have a chance to win those prizes as well. The other thing you can't do is really link it to your performance in the games. So for example, you could never say, buy credits, win the slot machine, and in addition to winning credits, you're going to win a hotel stay. At that point, it becomes what many would classify as real money gambling, subject to legislation and restriction. Go ahead.
Hi, just going back to your slide about retention.
Yes.
You said 30% on mobile.
Yes.
What time frame is that? I mean,
Yeah, sure. So let's just jump back to that slide. Here we go. Yes, so what you're seeing here in terms of the retention stats is day one retention. That's one stat. The other stat we look at is 7-day retention and then 30-day retention. And the trend that you want to see is that 50% of your players who came back the second day are around on the 7th day. Then you can understand that you have not just a gimmick, but a game with lasting staying power. The other factor that roughly correlates with retention is stickiness, and you want to see your DAU, daily active users, as a percentage of monthly active users above 20%. Both of those factor in together with DARPU into your lifetime value, which is an important part of the business model. Sure.
Any more questions? Oh yeah, question over here.
I had a question about the regional distribution of revenues that you drew up. Isn't Asia surprisingly small on that? Are you not seeing anything coming out of China and Hong Kong, these places?
You know, that all factors into rest of the world. But Slotomania, for example, made by Caesars Interactive Entertainment, they do have a Chinese language version of the game. The other thing is, in Asia, they're much better at using gambling mechanics and layering that into other genres of games. So you can be playing any games over there, and you'll start to, if you think about it, realize that this is actually a slot machine masked as a shoot-'em-up game, for example. So they may not have strictly fallen into this categorization because it's not an explicit slot machine. The other nation category in Asia, of course, is pachinko. Nobody has created a successful pachinko application for the Japanese market, and it's an interesting opportunity.
Question over here?
Actually, my question more from psychology. What actually people makes they buy coins with actually they cannot win? It's just for entertainment. So what is driven by those people?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and especially when I'm talking to the folks at BWin Party who come from the real money gambling world, where you can win cash, they really have a hard time getting their hands around it. And it's a reason why this industry only took off in 2007. That was the eureka moment when Mark Pincus was sitting in his bathtub and realized he could get people to pay real money without the prospect of winning money back. The reason for it is a combination of psychological factors. Basically, we're all driven by various factors. We like to collect, we like to gift, we like to reciprocate, we like to explore, we like to open, discover, and in addition to that, we like to win, we like to compete. Winning tangible rewards is only one psychological factor in the mix. And what's happening in these social casino games is a very strong appeal to those other factors. For example, a typical mechanic in a slots game application is the fact that one slot is open, the rest are locked. And by making a purchase, you can bet more, and by betting more, you get more XP, experience points, which then enables you to reach a higher level, thereby allowing you to open up the next game. So people are paying at the end of the day for entertainment, but that entertainment is being driven by psychological motivations. There's a very good book called Addiction by Design. You can check it out, and it talks a lot about these behavioral traits. And there's a rumor that I heard just yesterday that King.com hired a team of psychologists when they were developing Candy Crush. And based on what those psychologists discovered, they designed the game around the psychological triggers. And that's why many of us joke that we're so addicted to Candy Crush. It's addiction by design.
And another question, why most of the people that actually play for the gambling simulation, they're from America, Australia, and Canada? That's actually the most players that comes from. Why not Europe? Why not Asia? Why are those
Sure.
countries?
Sure. So I think that applies to all social games. America is the most developed market. It's the highest monetized market, first of all. But secondly, we can't ignore the fact that real money online gambling has been illegal in the United States, and there's a substitution effect. Gambling, as Nick said, is as old as time. People love to do it, and if they can't get the real thing, they'll like to play the substitute. Now the situation is changing and evolving rapidly because poker, for example, is opening up in New Jersey and Nevada, and it challenges social casino companies to continue to innovate, to continue to have a differentiation from online casino. Canada, yeah.
This is the last question.
Sure. So Canada and Australia, basically you have a bit of substitution effect because it's not 100% clear cut what is legal, what is not legal with regard to online gambling in those countries. But you also have the fact that social game studios have limited capacity. Like any business, we have to prioritize. So many of us prioritize English language, English localization. And therefore, our games naturally appeal to Canada and Australia, A, and B, we use Canada and Australia to test our games before we introduce them into the United States. Yeah, sure, my pleasure. Okay, well, I'll be around. I look forward to meeting all of you. If you have more questions, please come. Great, thank you.